Hello students, the topic of our discussion today is People and Languages till 650 AD. To assist me in my discussion is Ms. Peeta Bhattacharya from the Department of Ancient Indian History and Culture, University of Calcutta. So we begin our discussion now.
Ritadi, can you tell us something about the different categories of society that prevailed in early India?
For the sake of convenience, we divide the society in early India into 4 categories: that of hunters and gatherers, pastoralists, peasants and townsmen. Now, this is not to say that they were completely demarcated or segregated from one another. It is just to point out that in special environmental niches, these were the prominent categories. Now, there was considerable overlapping because you must be knowing that there were numerous changes throughout history. There were conquests and reconquests. So, these were just the prominent categories in particular areas.
Okay. Can you elaborate a little on the lifestyle of the hunter-gatherers?
Well, the hunter-gatherers lived by hunting animals for their food and other requirements and scavenging the forest for edible plants. Okay. The forests and shrublands were their resource bases. The prototype of this this community were the Shoboros, Pulindos and Nishadas, who have been mentioned in literature. You must be wondering how they have been described. Well, they have been described as dark complexion, stocky built people with bloodshot eyes and using strange languages. Now, in Banabhatta's Harshacharit, we find mention of some of these people, that is as late as the 7th century AD. Okay. But you must remember that by that time they have been acculturated and have been included. Their lifestyle is almost the same as the cultivators.
Okay. So you are saying there was an essential dichotomy between forest and settlement in early India.
Well, we see that in literature there are shifts in perceptions regarding forest lands. Okay. Now, initially they have been regarded as outside the civilized society, and they have not been given any importance. But then later on, when hermitages began to be established therein and sages began to show a preference for forest retreats, we find that in literature they have been romanticized. But then essentially between the state and these forest people, there was a feeling of hostility. Now, in the Arthashastra of Kautilya, we find that Kautilya advises the king to be aware of forest chiefs and mischief that they created, trouble that they created rather, and the tone of the text verges on hostility towards these people. By the mid-1st millennium, we see that these forest dwellers are being continuously being uprooted, then again they are being conquered, then displaced because new states were emerging and coming into existence. So we see that there were continuous attempts to displace them and to capture their land, clear it and bring it under cultivation.